Then you can go ahead and go to Tools and then to Customize. This is where we do the bulk of our customization and settings in ClaritySoft. You can see here on the top we're under the General tab right now, and that should default open like this as soon as you go to Tools and Customize. You can see here we have users, groups, access profiles, and so on. The first thing I want to talk about though is the difference between groups and teams, because there's sometimes some confusion there because they are very similar. And the difference is a little bit different technology that we use behind these two functionality pieces. So with groups, these were added later. Teams were added initially. So we've kind of grown and developed a better solution in groups. So for most of our current users or new users as well, you should be using groups. But we still keep teams just in case you utilize teams in your environment. We don't want to take away that functionality. We don't want to risk changing and messing anything up. So if you look under Options, so this is General, and then to Options, you can see here at the bottom says Security Model, where you can choose either group-based or Legacy Mode, meaning our old version, of teams and regions. Group-based security allows us to get a little bit more detail when adding these groups in. We can have subgroups and whatnot. So if you aren't currently using groups, you can still use teams, and they work very similar. But groups allow us a little bit deeper functionality. So just make sure that you have the security model set for groups. And then we can go up here to groups. And you can see I've got a few added in here already. If I double click on one, it's going to open that up. And I can have access to a bunch of information in there. But let's take an example here. You can see I added USA and I added North, South, East, West. Imagine that these are the different regions for our company. Maybe we have an office for the North Division, South Division, and so on. But USA is going to cover the entire United States. And so if I double click in USA, you can see where it says on the right hand side here, child groups. That means these are records that are going to roll up to this group. So if I have an access profile set to USA, visibility into USA, they would have visibility into all the child groups like North, South, East, and West Division. So this would be a good example of maybe an overhead or a managerial or even a corporate view setting. On the left here you can see who are members of the group. And we can also choose if this is a region. This I guess technically would be. You can disable it or enable it. If you add it, it's automatically going to be enabled. And we can go ahead and click OK. And now if you see when I click Open North, remember that was a child group of USA, it's going to look similar, but we notice that no child groups are assigned to North. Now, I could even split this further into states if I wanted. Maybe I put 10 states in here that are all child groups of North. Then those would roll up to the North, and that would roll up to USA. So we get a lot of cool functionality in here once we start utilizing groups. Go ahead and click OK to cancel out of that. So if we want to create a new group, first you want to be selected into the Groups menu, then come to the bottom right corner and click Add. Here you can name the group. We're just going to go ahead and make up some stuff here. And you can give it a description and click OK. You can see it came up there, the next one in order, number 6. And if we double click it, we can get into some more in-depth information there. We can make child groups, we can make it a region, and we can even assign group members if we'd like from here. But we can also assign these users into this group at a later point. And maybe I should take a minute here to kind of go over why groups are important. So bear with me here. So basically, a group allows us to do a couple different things. First, it could allow 2 individuals to access each other's contacts, accounts, and so on with an individual access profile. So that might sound kind of complicated, so I'm going to reiterate that. So let's say we have two users, Bob and Tom, who both have an access profile, which we're going to get here into just a second, an access profile of individual. An individual access profile means they can only see their own account, contacts, sales, and so on. You're restricted to your individual records. But let's say Bob and Tom are both set to individual, but they work together and they need to see each other's contacts and accounts and so on. Well, you can make them members of the same group and then give them visibility into each other's information. That way Bob can see Tom's contacts, Tom can see Bob's, and so on. You can work as a team. Alternately, another piece of functionality with groups is, let's say on a managerial aspect, you have the manager, say Tom, who is in charge of the sales for the North Division. So he would have visibility into all the sales, accounts, contacts, and so on in the North Division. But then his boss is in charge of the whole U.S., so he sees the North, the South, East, and the West Division. So groups give us a little bit of that depth and functionality on what you can see, what we can do, and so on. And the other big half of this is access profiles. The two work hand in hand to build out this type of functionality. So we're going to go ahead and switch over to access profiles and take a look at some of those. So from this Tools and Customize menu, we're under General and Access Profiles. Here you can see we have a few already. And if I double click on one, let's double click Individual, it's going to bring up the kind of specific information about that record. So you can see here there's a ton of checkboxes down here below. And that basically lets us turn on and off individual features and accessibility. So currently, for an individual access profile, you can see that they can view accounts, contacts, opportunities, and so on. It's all visible to them. They can create new records for all of those items. They can edit, but they can't delete their own, edit shared, or delete shared records. So individual access profile currently is restricted. You see along the top here we also have settings for activity manager, salesperson, lead manager, and so on. That dictates some of the other functionality that you have if you're able to manage activities, see other activities, see other people's sales, see other people's leads, and so on. And then I also down here next to data access I have actions, and this is what limits things like group editing, all those list action functionality pieces that we have. You can individually turn them on or off. So maybe I don't want these people to be able to group edit or export or export to Excel or do Excel reporting. For some reason I want to keep that data secure in my database, so I can individually limit exactly what they have access to. Let's take a look at another one here so we can give you a little bit better example. Let's look at an all access profile. An all access profile means you have power and visibility into everything. You're able to see all accounts, all contacts, opportunities, and so on. And you're enabled to do all of the pieces of functionality. So this is kind of like a no limits access profile where they can do all the functionality right out of the box that it was set up for. We'll go ahead and cancel out of that now. And let's take a look at adding in a new access profile. So when we're in access profiles, we come to the bottom right here and click add. And I just give it a name here. I can add a description, and then I can manually choose exactly, I can choose exactly what they have access to. Now you see here, under Data Access, there's a drop-down that says Data Access. And this is kind of like the bulk blanket overview. Remember, an all access profile means you have visibility and functionality with every module. But I could also choose Manager. That is used if just exactly how it sounds. If you're setting up a profile for a manager and they need to be able to see individuals' information that are below them that directly report right to them, well, you can set up a manager access profile so they can see, like we mentioned earlier, maybe all the contacts, accounts, and so on of the North Division or the East Division. Team is very similar to what we talked about earlier with the group functionality and working together in teams. Teams, if two individuals are on a team together, then they have access into each other's information. And we have individual access profile, which means they can only control their own information and see their own information. And we also have terminated. Terminated being that they are no longer with the company or using the system maybe, and you don't want them to have access to that information. So if we moved it to terminated, it would remove all functionality there. So as soon as they sync, it basically wipes their database clean and they can't do anything. So that's kind of a useful tool if need be in certain situations. But once I have this set up exactly how I want, let's just go ahead and say this is a manager access profile, and he's going to have the ability to do everything, but we don't want him to be able to delete his records or shared records maybe. Deleting records is not usually a good thing. So maybe we take away that functionality, and then under actions, maybe we don't want them to export or group edit it. We want to maintain our data. And click OK. And just like that, we have this new access profile added. And what this means now is that we can go and set up a user with this access profile in this group. Or we can add a new user and set them up with this information. So let's go up here to users. And you can see we have, 8 or so users here. If I come down to the bottom right corner and click Add, we're going to add a new user. Here I can give a first name and a last name. We're going to be pretty original today. John Smith. And give him a login and password. And then here's where we get into some of that functionality that we were talking about earlier. I can choose who he reports to. This is going to be another user already added to the system. I can choose his access profile. There's the access profile we just created. So this is what he has functionality and visibility into. And then I can also assign him to a group. So maybe he's a member of the USA group. Remember, he's going to have visibility into the child records as well. And then if we come here down towards the bottom, I can give him admin rights if I want. That's going to allow him to go to Tools and Customize and do some other functionality. I can deactivate that user if I want. And then I can also choose individual rules based on this user. Maybe I want them to have visibility into my information or Bob's information. Or maybe I want them to have visibility. Maybe he's a member of Group USA, but maybe he has visibility into I don't know, maybe the training group. That's kind of a bad example, but giving them visibility would allow him to see those records, but not necessarily edit or delete them. That's going to be based on the access profile. Once you're happy with everything here, you can assign a time zone and all that good stuff. Once you're happy, you can go ahead and click OK. And just like that, the new user is added. And when they sign in, they're going to have that manager profile with those specific restrictions that we set out ahead of time. Now, I do like to remind people that we've added this here to the local database. We've added this new user, but it's not synced to the server yet, right? So if he logged on right now and tried to access ClaritySoft, he wouldn't be able to because this hasn't gone up to the server and said, hey, training user, that is an okay account. They can log in, they can access this information. So all I would need to do after this step is go up and click Sync That's going to send my changes up to the server. It's going to bring back down any changes, and then he will be able to successfully log on and see, edit, and so on. So there's some really neat functionality between our access profiles and user groups. I think sometimes it's underappreciated, or maybe it's not utilized to its highest efficiency, but there's some really cool functionality in there, and I encourage you guys to explore that functionality and mess with it and see what setup should be the best for you guys. Some of you might not even use access profiles and groups, which is completely fine. If you're in an environment where you don't have to restrict that kind of information, then don't even worry about it, because restricting it is just going to hurt you rather than help you. But this gives us some neat functionality if we want to get into specifically if we want to specifically limit what kind of visibility and functionality a user might have. All right, so that's kind of the rundown on user groups and access profiles and adding a new user. I'd like to take some time now to answer any questions you might have. GoToMeeting, if you'll remember. I'll pull this over here so you can see it. GoToMeeting has this little questions area where you can type a question, and it'll come over to me, and I can answer it to the best of my ability for you. So if you have any questions, please feel free to send those to me now. While I'm waiting on any potential questions I might have, I'd just like to remind everybody that if you do have additional questions or concerns, you can feel free to contact our support team. Their email is support@claritysoft.com, or you can give them a phone call. That's 888-838-7487. You call that phone number, and it's going to ask you to press 1 for sales or 2 for support, and that's the only automated message you're going to hear. You press 2, and you're going to get connected to a live person. So our support line is a nice resource to use in case you have any additional questions, concerns, or if you just need some help. All right, well, I don't have any questions, so it looks like everybody understood that pretty well, which is good. Like I said before, there's some really neat functionality there, and I encourage you all to take advantage of it if you need. Some closing remarks here just in case somebody might be typing up a question here. We want to say thank you for joining us for these training sessions. If you need to see a complete list of training times and topics, you can see that at claritysoft.com/training. It also includes registration links and all that good stuff. And these training sessions are free and unlimited, so please come as often as you need. Come every week if you want, come once a week, once a month, it doesn't matter to us. We just want to make sure that you're using the software and you're getting the support you need. That's important to us. And I also like to mention that if you have a topic you would like to see in our focus training, please send us an email at info@claritysoft.com. We'll throw it in the box of training topics, and you should see it in the near future if we decide to go with it. So if you have a suggestion, or maybe something you personally would just like some more help on, send us an email to info@claritysoft.com, and we'll do the best we can to make sure you get the training and support you need. All right. Well, guys, I guess it's been a nice, sweet, short training session today since we didn't have any questions. So I thank you all for joining us today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Monday. And again, please don't hesitate to contact us with any questions or concerns. Thank you so much. Bye now.